Hey everyone, Jane here. Welcome to my channel today and thank you for watching. Today I am going to be looking at some fountain pens, and I'm doing it a little bit different in that I'm keeping this piece of video in real time, but I will be providing a voiceover because it is the summer holidays here, so it becomes a little bit more tricky for me to film sort of live, so to speak. I recently put a post up on my YouTube page where I showed some artwork that I'd done with using fountain pens and then using watercolour and mixed media over the top. And I asked people if they'd like me to sort of show a bit about my pens, and there was a resounding yes, people would be interested. So as usual, when I start with a new medium or a new tool, I sort of go a bit over the top. So I didn't just buy one fountain pen, I bought three. Now these aren't too bad of a price. These are the Lamy fountain pens. This first one you're looking at is in what it says is Scarlet colour, and it is a Safari, which is the more economical of the pens. And this is roughly, and I will have to do this in pounds because it's all that I know, they're around £20. The other two are Lamy All Stars, and they are slightly different in that they are aluminium as opposed to a plastic casing. They when I first bought them, I bought some water-soluble inks, and I realised quite quickly that I had made a mistake and I needed to do waterproof inks. So I'm showing you here, these are and I'm going to try to pronounce it right, it's Rohrer and Klingner ink, and they are sketch inks, and they have like these ladies' names, but one of them was black, one of them is like a petrol colour, and one of them is a greenish brown. Now, when you get the pens, they do come with cartridges, but I bought the converters because I wanted to use inks with them, and I showed you that earlier. Now, these, I realised quite quickly that if I wanted to use these in with watercolour, I would need hot pressed watercolour sketchbooks. So I initially bought the sort of like apricot colour one. These again, they're very reasonably priced over on Amazon, so they were much cheaper than, for example, buying an Etcher hot press sketchbook. They're hot pressed, they are 100% cotton, and they are 300 GSM. So I liked the apricot one so much, which is the one that I posted on my page with the pictures that I'd already done, that I thought I would quite like a smaller square one, which is what this yellow one is here today. So I'm just showing you a little bit about how smooth the texture of the cardstock is, because obviously if you're using something like a fountain pen, then you need to be able to work on that without it being too rough a texture. Now I've got three pens, and I did get each one in a different size of nib because I wanted to see whether I liked the medium nib, the fine nib, or the extra fine nib the best. Now, so far I've mostly used the medium nib, I have to admit. But to be honest, the reason why I've mostly used the one with the medium nib, which is the one that's in the Safari pen, is because I put the black ink in that one. So that's the ink I have mostly been using. So I just showed you the little book. This is the bigger one. This is an A5 size sketchbook. On the first page, I decided to keep it as like a bit of a play around, just having a little test out. And then this is the page that I did that I showed on my YouTube channel page for posts. And I sort of went with this sketchbook layout, something that Lindsay the Frugal Crafter does. She says just if you split things up, it makes it much more manageable, which I have to agree it did. It's less daunting to do some smaller pictures, but also sometimes if one of the pictures isn't that great, if you've got the whole is better than the sum of the parts, or is it, oh, I can't remember which way around that saying goes. So here are the three pens. The two All Stars, this is one of them. These are brand new special edition colours. And I'm going to be truthful. That's the reason I wanted them. I liked the colours. But there is a much more of a weight to these ones. Now, these ones retail about £30. So you're talking about a third higher price than the Safari, and so far the Safari has been, if you're just wanting to try one out, I think the Safari is totally fine. So that first one I did was with the extra fine nib. Now when I'm doing it on this piece of card, I have to say I can't see a lot of difference between the three nibs, but it may be the way I write. I was standing up and I was really struggling to sort of write nicely on a piece of card, and that is a piece of smooth card, so it's a bit different to the the paper or card that's in the sketchbook. So the first one was the All Star with an extra fine. The second one is the Dark Dusk All Star, and that had a fine nib in. And then the third one is the Lamy Safari, which has got a medium nib in. I'm just showing you which colours were in which. They're quite subtle colours, but they are. Oh, I chose colours that I thought would be good for providing outlines. Now, this is me now. I have sped this portion of the video up because this did take me quite a while. So I'm now creating in that new little sketchbook. I started off by, I got a stencil out, and I just wanted to make a bit of a frame. It didn't really overly matter what the shape of the frame was. As it happens, it's sort of like a very decorative square. And I did mess it up wholeheartedly. I'm using a Unipin pen, and it was really struggling. I was struggling to hold the stencil in place. So what I did was I went back round afterwards and added in some extra little lines, which at the end you will see I decorate to make it more of a feature. But I use the Unipin because it's waterproof. Now, my aim with these fountain pens is eventually that I will have the confidence to just get the fountain pen and draw with the ink. And I have to say, the experience of using the fountain pen for drawing I have found really nice. I really enjoy the way the ink flows. I really enjoy the feel of the pens, more so than using the fibre tipped pens. I find that the fountain pen nibs, certainly on the hot pressed watercolour that I've used, feel so much smoother and nicer. But at the moment I am still really in the early stages of this sort of drawing and watercolouring sort of experience. So for me, drawing it out with pencil first is sort of like that learning step. I don't want to dive straight in with the pen, mess it up, and then I will just cast it aside and not want to do it. I know if I do it in pencil first, I can go over lines again, and then when I'm happy with it, I can then add the ink, and then that will be better for me as in the way I craft. Now, the photo I'm using is one from my own collection. These are sort of like palette photo cards that I made from either mine or members of my family's photographs. So they're all our own photos. They're not taken from any other site, but you can find photos on like free to use sites like Unsplash, places like that, where you can use photos for references. But just to put any issues of copyright out the window, I'm using one that I know that we as a family have the copyright to. I'm sure my son said it's fine, I could use it. And it is of a butterfly, and it's my favourite sort of butterfly here in the UK, the peacock butterfly. And we were out on a walk, and highly unusually, it's really hard to usually find butterflies with their wings out that will stay still long enough for you to actually take a photograph of them. So once I was happy-ish with my pencil drawing, I went in with the medium nib and the black ink, which is the Lotte, it's called in that particular range. Now these inks are all waterproof, and they are specifically for fountain pens, rollable pens and brushes. Now that is something to be aware, because sometimes you will buy inks that are waterproof, and I have Winsor & Newton ones, but you do have to be careful because some of them are not for putting into fountain pens. So do please be aware of that. You do need to make sure that whatever ink you put into a converter in a fountain pen is suitable, because otherwise it could sort of clog it up. I presume potentially damage it. So far mine, they're all working fine. Every few days I am going in and just making sure they're still flowing. If they stop, if it does dry up in them, I do believe you just like rinse them through and you let them soak in water, and that should be fine. There are lots of videos and things about how you clean fountain pens. I also haven't had any issues with leakages. They're all been fine. There's no leaking. And that is my big thing I remember from when I had to use a fountain pen at times at school, was that, you'd end up with a nice big spot of ink right on your finger. These Lamy ones also do have a tripod grip, which means you are sort of forced almost to hold your pen correctly. And which, as I used to teach primary school children, know that that is, quite a big issue. And often in schools, you have tripod grips on pencils and things, or you can get special grips that you put on. So this is sort of built in to help you handle it properly. I'm pretty sure that when I'm using it, I automatically am probably not holding it correctly, but it's a learning process, and that's what I'm treating this as. Now, with my picture, I started off by just doing a light wash of the green across the top, because I'm not going to go into too much detail in the background. I wanted the focus to be on the butterfly. And this is still really early days for me in this way of drawing and painting. And so I am still learning. I watch a lot of videos, but I feel the best way you can learn things is to just actually do it and learn, through the process. So for me, one of my main issues with drawing is that I do have a tendency to draw what I think I have seen rather than what I have actually seen, which is why I had to start with the pencil. Because until I get really good at looking and then you're drawing what I've seen rather than looking, oh, look away, look away, look away, just draw what I think's in my head. And I've got to still practice with the pencil. But I was quite happy with this one. This came out a lot better than I thought. When I started, I was like, oh my goodness, I really don't know what I'm doing here. I feel all at sea. For me, this is quite a bit out of my comfort zone, but I am determined to keep going with this sort of practice because it's fun and I've enjoyed it, and it really gives you a sense of accomplishment. So I started with the lightest colours because that's how you sort of have to work with your watercolours. And then I'm gradually building up with darker shades. And the paints I'm using are from my big tin. I have a few videos on the channel where we look at some of the paints that I put in here. So it's a mixture of Daniel Smith watercolour, Core by Golden watercolour, and Rosa Gallery watercolour. And so those are all, there might be a couple that are actually half pans. The most of them are from tubes that I've put in and allowed to dry. So, they're all pretty good professional level watercolours, and they are, to be honest, a joy to use, I have to say. The brushes I'm using are, I think the biggest one is a size 8. It was a Princeton Acqua Elite. It's my only Acqua Elite. They are I love the Princeton brushes, I have to say. And the other two were a size 6 and a size 4, I think. And they are the Velvet Touch, which are a really good all-round brush. So I was really good today. Well, yesterday, whenever it was I made this, in that I did try to leave layers to dry. Now, that is, again, another one of the things I've got, as well as learning to draw what I see rather than what's in my head. I do have to remember to let things dry, let layers dry if I don't want to end up with just a mixture of blended colours. So I did at times in this video stop and allow it to dry before I moved on, or like here I did sort of part of it, then I moved into the outside. So I'm adding in some darker green to be the shadow of the butterfly in the picture. And this is another case where I really needed to look, because I didn't realise for a while until I'd been doing this shadowing that the darkness in the photo is actually where the shadow of the butterfly. And I only realised when I realised there was the shadow of the antennae in the picture. And then I realised that the majority of that darkness is caused by the shadow of the butterfly. So, just shows you just do need to look. And even at this point, I was looking at it thinking, I'm not sure, but I know that I am more of a mixed media person. So I'm never going to be doing something that is very watercolory. I like to have detail. I like the black lines. That won't be for everybody. Some people might like to just paint and have it more as that whole expressive watercolor. I'm more illustrative. I like to have black lines around things to really show the definition of the shapes. But this is why we do what we want to do. And as much as you get inspiration from other people and as much as you get ideas and tips and tricks, at the end of the day you do what makes you happy and what you enjoy, because that's what will make you go back to it. Don't force yourself into somebody else's box. So I sort of laid all that green down, and then this is where I decided I needed to add in a bit more. So I'm going in with some pencils. Now I've got a mixture here of the Derwent drawing pencils. These are a newish purchase. I haven't overly used them yet, but I thought this was a good opportunity. They have very muted landscapey colours which really fit with a lot of what I do. And I've also got a couple of Luminance pencils in there, and the turquoisey colour is a Faber Castell Polychromos. And so I just went in and added a bit of pencil where I felt it enhanced the colour. So just adding in sort of extra depth. I wasn't going, I'm not a photorealistic person. It's never going to look exactly like the photo, but I did want more detail in there than there already was. So I was going mostly in with the sort of the browns, those sorts of tones, to add in on top of that watercolour. So as well as the pencil, you may have noticed that I also added in some acrylic markers in white, just to sort of add those highlights in. And then I wanted to add a little bit of something to this border, because when I first drew this around this stencil for this frame, I wasn't particularly happy. So I've gone in with a black Posca pen. I think this is a 1M, and just adding some little sort of lines into where I'd done those double sort of lines on the edges, just to make a bit more of a frame. And then I will also go in with the white Posca just to finish that off. Now, what I'm thinking with this book is, and what I did do afterwards, but I'd finished filming the video so I didn't show you, was that on the opposite page to whatever picture I do, I thought it'd be really nice, as it is using fountain pens, would be to add the same sort of frame again, but have a quote in there. And so after the video had been done and sort of mostly sorted out, I did actually go back in and add a quote onto the other side. I used to, when I was younger, really enjoy doing bubble writing and different sorts of fonts. So this is sort of going a little bit back for me into what I used to do. And so again, but I used pencil first and then I went over in the pen, and then I added in some acrylic markers and things. But what I will do is, once this video has gone live on my channel, I will pop that in my on my post section on my channel as well, so that you can see the whole thing with the quote next to it as well, because I thought it's a little bit of fun, and I thought it'd be really nice to have like this little book where I've got quotes, nice positive quotes, and then sort of art that I've done as well. So it will be something interesting to sort of look back through and sort of reminisce on. So I hope you've enjoyed that today, a little bit something different from me. Do please let me know in the comments if this is the sort of content that you would like to see more of, if there's, if this is something that you are interested in seeing. And if you have enjoyed the video, do please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed, it would be fabulous if you could hit that subscribe button as well. So until the next time, bye bye.